I gave
Hi
you
friends.
word, no?
Yeah, we are very much happy and excited with Meenakshi Shriram Krishna as, for her celebrity talk show with regard to Montessori. It's fundamental principles, the basic principles of Montessori philosophy. Yeah, ma'am, you can talk now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that introduction. It's going to be Montessori philosophy, Montessori education, Montessori method. Call it what you may, but Dr. Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori, was not very strict about that. That within the first year you have to do this, within the second year you have to do this. Though, of course, the children spent 3 years in the same classroom, but the materials were there, neatly arranged, and everything has a place and everything in its place. The children were at liberty to take any one of them, take it to his place of work with that, and return it to where it was displayed. That's very, very fundamental. And that's part of the Montessori method. What made it popular was the type of education the children got when they were very young. They came to the house of children. Sorry, house of children means school, right? At the age of 2.5 to 3, in between that. And they spent 3 years in the same hall, in the same place. But all materials were displayed around the the whole environment. They went, they chose what they wanted, took, took it to the place where they worked. Each one had a mat, so it was his mat for that day, his place for the day. Sat down, put the material on the mat, and worked with that. Sometimes successfully, sometimes he would try and try and try again. And if he lost uh, interest in it, he could replace it back. There was no compulsion, you have to finish this. And fortunately, unfortunately, there is no homework, right? The brain, as you all know, when you put something in it, it keeps working round and round and round again until it grasps the whole meaning. And the meaning is not the same all the time. So as the child grows, it differs, it changes, and becomes more permanent. And that is what Dr. Maria Montessori discovered from the child. The word discover is very important because of the fact that she herself admits, I didn't think of a Montessori plan. It is the children who gave it to me. It is what they showed me. That is the title of her essay on it. They showed me what I have to do, and I have followed the child. And so, this is the basis of the Montessori method of education. We call it a method and not a plan. It is not determined. Each child determines. with a material, one material. One child takes only 15 minutes to master it. Another child takes 3 days. So what? We are all different. So it is not like the schoolroom when it is just 35 minutes or 40 minutes for what we called a period when we went to school. And all of us were sitting there, and the teacher taught. She narrated whatever it was. But each child takes it differently and reacts differently. That the teacher doesn't understand because she thinks at the following examination they have to answer questions as she had taught it, not any other way. I still remember the day I went to school and the teacher had brought all the apparatus from the chemistry laboratory and showed us how mixtures, how this done and that done. And she had a lovely talk about acids, alkalis, and mere water and the properties of water, etc., etc. And while talking, she said the acid corrodes the skin. I was one of the children there. I didn't understand what corrodes meant. So I asked the teacher, what is corrode? She said, don't be impertinent. Sit down. I wonder if she couldn't answer my question. I had to sit down. I had to keep quiet until the end of the class. And she called me and said, take the material to the laboratory. I took the material to the laboratory and then very happily went to the wash basin and poured the acid on my left arm. It burnt and it burnt. I just threw the water and immediately put his hand under the tap and it boiled. But that is how I learned what acid corrodes skin. But in a house of children, in a Montessori house of children, children experience things themselves. We cannot give them acids to work with. And whatever it is, if it is just water, if it is just cups and saucers, the child handles them, touches. Sometimes they smell it. Sometimes they arrange it. Sometimes they wipe it. Different experiences, all experiences being learning experiences. And that is how Dr. Montessori said it. It does not matter. The child has to take it into his system, imbibe it into himself. And that is the methodology that is followed in houses of children. We have a plan, what you want to say, a curriculum, for the portions to be covered in the first year, whichever you want to say. But the teacher observes the child. So when the child is working confidently and correctly, then she understands it is time to present the next one. So she invites the child, will you come? I'll show you how to work with a brown stick. And so He accepts the invitation or he doesn't. If he accepts, she takes him to the place where the material is kept. Show him this is what we call downstairs. Let us take it to our mat. And one by one, they are taken to the mat. But if he says, or even shows with his face, no, that's the end. He doesn't want it. So the teacher doesn't force. She doesn't say, this is the portion to be covered today, you have to do it. There is no compulsion. But we have seen in our experience whether they do it earlier or later or do it for 1 hour or just 15 minutes. At the end of the year, all children cover all the material meant for that year. The other materials are also there. They don't go near them, they don't touch them because they understand the rule. Whatever the teacher has shown them, that is what they have to do. But I'm really amazed at the way the children work and the children discover many things. They may be things which have been discovered by other people, but a particular child discovers something. And that is his great achievement. A thing of joy, thing of happiness. You all know by your experience, whether it was in school or in college or in life later on, what you do with joy stays with you. What you do as a compulsion with a wry face, with a grumbling tone, I don't want to do it. That doesn't stay with you. That evaporates. And so every child passes through every material. It's only the teacher's duty to record. Today he has worked with this. How good he was, he can wait and see. Some children work with the material only once and they master it. There are other children who are going to work for a few times and then they master it. When they master the activity with that, there is the principle, there is the scientific theory behind it, that the child imbibes. And there is joy. You all know in human psychology, whatever is done with happiness stays with you. And that is how the child spends the 3 years in the same environment with the material that displayed in the environment. There are things that they themselves can think of. They can say, yes, I want to do this. Tomorrow you bring this day, share among themselves, and the next day they are going to make a lovely eatable thing. They mix it themselves. They put the salt, put the mirchi, everything they put, and they make it. Such joy they get in preparing that. And then put 2 spoons in a plate and give it to the teacher, the assistant. Then all the children share it. What lovely game that was. children enjoy it. And then next week they come and say, "Ma'am, shall we make pani puri? Shall we make that, everything?" But we allow them to make things themselves, but not involving fire and all that, because they still have to gain control over themselves. They love to do it, but by that, by making something, by making, let me say, a mixture of various nuts and then puri and everything, they learn. They learn the smell. They learn the shape. They learn the color. They can identify them by their color, by their shape, by... Isn't that learning? We want to say the child has to live his life in this world. It is not only what is taught in the school. Some story, some song. Is that all? But then you may ask, do we not teach them songs? Of course you do. The Montessori House of Children has a good stock of songs, and the teacher is going to sing, and she tells the children, "I'm going to sing. After I sing one line, then you sing." So a couple of days later, when the teacher starts the tune, all the children just join, and there is gala in the Montessori House of Children. The children don't call the teacher teacher, but by some name. Maybe it is going to be, what shall I give? My name, Meena Auntie, or Meena Ji, right? Anyhow, any way we address and where the school is and which locality it is and what is the prevalent language and the custom is going to be. And that is how the children grow in happiness all the time. You know yourself, you look at yourself. What you learned when you are happy stays with you. When you're going to learn something with grumbling, there is a hate within you, and there is an innate mechanism in the human brain that it does not accept anything if it is not given with love. You can find it out. You can just think about it. What remains with you about your childhood? What memories of the childhood? More often than not, you will see that what was happy is what you remember. The other things are slowly forgotten. What you did when you were 4-year-old, if you can remember, you just try it on yourself. And that is the principle on which Dr. Maria Montessori worked on. But I have a doubt. Where did she learn all these things? The answer is very, very simple. She learned it from the child. She observed the children and found out. There was a cupboard in the first school. The children were allowed to take whatever material they wanted. So the cupboard was left open. Each child picked up something and went to his place of work, worked with that, and brought it back. It was to her amazement, Dr. Maria Montessori just realized that the children came and put the material in the cupboard in the same place where he took it from. How? Her mind asked, how does a child remember? But then her work, her experience showed her that what the child loves, it is kept there. And that is why in her first school, when she found that the children do this, and she writes in her article what they showed me, and so she sees what they show me, and the whole atmosphere changed. The big chairs where the child had to get up and sit on it, they're all gone. There were chairs for children to be able to sit as we sit, but the size of the chair was smaller. It is with every material, it is adapted to the child dimensions. And when the child could work with ease, and when the work is easy, he is happy. When he is happy, he is going to learn. When he has learned, it is part of the building up of his personality. I have touched on the topic, but I'm sure I would want to present to you a few more thoughts about the method, and that we will do later, depending on the time available and the dates available and how we want to learn it. Thank you very much. I'm sure you will be able to understand the Montessori method, the Montessori principles, Montessori psychology, Montessori method, and the Montessori child. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.